My name is Dr. Quan. I'm Chief of Medical Oncology at Cancer Treatment Centers of America at a Western Regional Medical Center. Melanoma is a cancer that arises in the skin from a pigmented or a colored skin cell that's called the melanocyte. Melanoma is occurring at approximately 70,000 people per year in the United States, and the incidence has been rising at a faster rate than virtually any other cancer except for lung cancer in women. It is believed that melanoma is related to the primary risk factor of radiation exposure from the sun. Cancer Treatment Centers of America at Western Regional Medical Center, our focus is on treatment of melanoma using the immune system. Primarily, there are a family of natural proteins that, because of genetic engineering, can be made in very large quantities now, called interleukins and interferons. And a particular focus of ours is to use interleukin-2, which is a messenger protein that essentially activates the Navy SEALs of the immune system to try to find melanoma cells when melanoma has widely spread, and to try to kill melanoma cells using a person's own natural immune system. In general, when one looks for a skin lesion, or when someone looks at a mole to say, is it something that should be or would be suspicious for melanoma, there's some general rules that we follow. I like to think of it as an ABCDE, where you look at the skin lesion and say that is it asymmetric? In other words, as you try to fold it back in your mind, does it cover itself? B stands for border. Melanomas tend to have irregular borders that can be very ragged edged as opposed to smooth. C stands for a color variation or multicolored aspect of the melanoma. So in other words, looking at a mole and saying, well, it's kind of black and it's kind of red, that is something that we'd like to have removed. D is for diameter. Diameter greater than 6 millimeters, or in other words, if you said it's larger than the end of my pencil eraser in circumference. And E is for elevation. In other words, a skin mole that rises from the skin or enlarges are elements that we look at to say this is something that doesn't belong on a person's body. So in other words, things that look suspicious or behave suspiciously, meaning a mole that's growing, changing over time, is something that should be seen by a dermatologist or by your doctor. In general, when a person has skin tanning, that means that there's been some radiation exposure to the skin and there's been some element of skin damage. And so when the tan fades, that's essentially a person's body trying to recover from the injury that it received. The difficult thing, though, is that the skin doesn't forget. So in other words, sun exposure as a teenager, as a young person, is not forgotten by the skin, unfortunately, and tends to give us results in 25 to 30 years later. And so avoiding being sun tanned really is a good thing. The highest times for sun exposure outside are between the hours of 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. And so we try to say to folks, if you can get your outdoor activities done either before or after those times, that would be best.